Ethan never planned to come back. Not to this town, not to her. But fate has a way of circling back when you least expect it. The bus stopped at Maplebrook's tiny station, the same place he'd left 3 years ago, right after the fight that ended everything. He'd told himself he was doing her a favor, walking away before his own confusion ruined her too. But now, as the bus door opened and the cold air hit his face, that excuse felt like dust, empty and meaningless. He walked through the quiet streets, noticing how little had changed. The same bakery still filled the corner with the smell of cinnamon. The same bookstore still had its faded open sign hanging crookedly. And then, there it was, Claire's cafe, her dream, her heart, the place she'd built after he left. He'd seen pictures online, but seeing it in person hit differently. The soft golden lights, the warm scent of roasted coffee, and behind the glass window, Claire. She stood near the counter, her hair pulled back loosely, reading something on her phone. For a moment, Ethan couldn't breathe. She hadn't changed, not really. The same calmness, the same grace, but now there was something else in her expression. A quiet exhaustion, a calm that came from learning to stop expecting. Would she even talk to me? He wondered. His hands trembled slightly as he pushed open the door. The bell above chimed, and she looked up instantly. Their eyes met, and time did what it always does when it meets regret. It froze. For a second, neither spoke. Then her lips parted, her tone low but steady. "You're late," she said, her voice carrying the faint tremor of someone who'd already waited too long. "Come on, hurry, I'm tired of wait." The words cut through him, not because they were harsh, but because they were too familiar. She used to say that every time he made her wait for dinner, for a walk, for promises he never kept. Now, it sounded like a memory thrown back at him, gentle, but sharp enough to bleed. Ethan forced a small smile. "Still impatient, huh?" She didn't smile back. 3 years isn't impatience, Ethan. That's endurance. He sat down across from her, unsure if he was allowed to. The smell of fresh coffee hung in the air between them, warm and heavy. She looked at him for a long moment, really looked. "You look tired," she said quietly. "I am," he admitted. "Running away isn't as easy as it sounds." For the first time, her lips twitched, almost forming a smile, but she held it back. "And yet, you were always good at it." He nodded, no defense left in him. "You have every right to hate me." Her eyes softened. "I don't hate you, Ethan. I just stopped waiting for you to come back." There it was. The simple truth that shattered him more than anger ever could. He'd spent years imagining her hating him. That was easier to carry than the idea of her moving on. He glanced around the cafe. "You did it," he said finally. "You built the place you always dreamed of." She looked around too, but her eyes didn't light up like they used to. "Yeah, I built it." The silence stretched. Everything he wanted to say sat between them like invisible glass. He wanted to tell her that every morning he'd thought of calling. That he'd written letters he never sent. That no one else ever felt right. But all he managed was, "I missed this place." She leaned back, crossing her arms slightly. "You mean you missed me?" He froze. She wasn't teasing. She was testing him. One last time. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I missed you." Her gaze dropped to the table. "You should have said that 3 years ago." "I know," he whispered. "But I didn't know how to face you. I was scared. Of me. Of myself," he said. "Of realizing I ruined the best thing I ever had." For a moment she said nothing. The soft hum of the espresso machine filled the silence. Then she sighed. "You can't just come back like nothing happened, Ethan." "I didn't come back for nothing," he said quickly. "I came back because I finally realized that leaving didn't make the pain go away. It made it worse." Her eyes met his again, searching for sincerity. People always realize things when it's too late. He leaned forward slightly. "Is it too late?" The question hung in the air, fragile and dangerous. Her eyes flickered, not with anger, but with something far more painful, hesitation. "Ethan," she began, her voice softer now. "Things aren't the same anymore." He frowned. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, then turned her left hand slightly, almost instinctively. That's when he saw it, the faint glimmer of a silver ring on her finger. For a heartbeat, he thought it was just jewelry. Then his stomach dropped. "Claire, you're engaged," she finished almost in a whisper. The word felt like a slow punch to the chest. Ethan's mind went blank for a moment. He forced a small nod. "I see." Claire's expression softened, but her eyes didn't meet his. "I didn't plan to tell you like this. I didn't even plan to see you again. But here you are." He swallowed hard. "He must be a good guy." "He is," she said quietly. "He's steady. He shows up." The words hit him with quiet precision, the opposite of everything he hadn't been. "I deserve that," she added softly. "You do," Ethan said. His voice cracked slightly. "More than anyone I know." For a few moments, neither spoke. The air between them felt heavy with everything unsaid. Memories, laughter, the weight of old promises. Ethan finally stood, unsure of what else to do. "I guess I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For all of it." She looked up at him, her eyes glistening. "And what exactly do you want me to do with that, Ethan? Forgive you? Forget everything?" He hesitated. "No, just know that I never stopped caring." Her lips parted, but no words came. She looked torn, between anger and understanding, between past and present. The clock above the counter ticked softly. Ethan turned toward the door, his voice barely audible. "I shouldn't have come." Claire stood abruptly. "You shouldn't have waited 3 years." He froze, his hand on the doorknob. There was pain in her tone, but also something else. A tremor of unfinished feeling. He turned back to face her. "If I told you I still—" "Don't," she interrupted quickly. Her voice cracked slightly. "Don't make this harder." For a long second, they just stood there, eyes locked, hearts breaking for the second time in the same cafe. Then Claire looked down, brushing a tear from her cheek, whispering words that felt final. "You came back too late, Ethan. Things have changed." He wanted to ask how much. But he already knew, because in that moment, as the light caught her ring again, Ethan realized the cruel truth. The world hadn't stopped when he left. Only he had. As he turned to leave, the bell above the cafe door chimed softly, and Claire whispered something under her breath he couldn't quite hear. But he knew it wasn't goodbye. It sounded more like if only Ethan didn't sleep that night. The image of the ring on Claire's hand kept flashing in his mind like a cruel reminder of everything he'd lost. He walked the quiet streets of Maplebrook until dawn, thinking about how easily time had moved for her, and how it had stopped for him. When the sun finally rose, he found himself standing outside the same cafe again, unsure why he'd come. Maybe closure, maybe hope, maybe both. Inside, Claire was already there, setting up tables. She looked up when he entered, but didn't look surprised. "You're early," she said quietly, not smiling, not frowning. He forced a small grin. "Couldn't sleep," she sighed. "You never could when things got heavy." He walked closer, stopping a few feet away. "About yesterday, I didn't mean to make things harder." She shook her head, brushing a stray strand of hair behind her ear. "It's not about meaning to, Ethan. It's about timing. You always came when it was too late." Her tone wasn't cruel, and it was tired. The kind of tired that comes from healing too many times. He hesitated. "So the engagement, it's serious?" She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Yes, his name's Daniel. We've been together almost 2 years." The name landed like a quiet echo. Ethan looked away, hiding the twist of his expression. "I see," Claire continued. "He's steady. He shows up when he says he will. He doesn't disappear when things get hard." Ethan bit his lip. "Sounds like everything I wasn't." For a second, she looked guilty. "That's not what I meant," he shrugged. "But it's true." The silence stretched between them, heavy but fragile. She finally gestured to a chair. "Sit. You look like you've been walking all night." He sat, grateful for the small act of kindness. "I guess I still don't know what I'm doing here," he said softly. She looked out the window. "Neither do I." They sat in silence for a while, the hum of the espresso machine filling the air. It wasn't like old times, but it wasn't hostile either. Just two people standing in the ruins of something once beautiful. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you, Claire. I left because I thought I wasn't good enough for you. She blinked, startled. You left because you thought you weren't enough? He nodded. You had dreams, plans, a whole future lined up. And I was lost. I thought I'd just hold you back. Her eyes softened for a moment, then hardened again. You don't get to disappear and call it love, Ethan. Love doesn't run away. It stays and fights. He nodded slowly. You're right. I just wish I'd realized that sooner. Claire exhaled deeply, her voice quieter now. Regret doesn't fix the past. I know, he said, looking down. But maybe it can fix what's left. She gave a small, sad laugh. You really think there's something left? He looked up, his eyes tired but sincere. If there wasn't, you wouldn't have met me yesterday. You could have walked away, but you didn't. Her lips parted, but no words came. The truth in his voice disarmed her. She looked down, fiddling with her bracelet. I only agreed to meet you because I wanted to see if I'd still feel something. And? He asked quietly. She hesitated. I wish I didn't, but I do. For a moment, neither of them breathed. Ethan's heart raced, but he stayed still, afraid to ruin the fragile honesty between them. Claire, he began, his voice shaking slightly. Then why are you marrying him? Her eyes glistened. Because I can't keep waiting for someone who leaves every time he's scared. Because I need stability, not hope. He swallowed hard. I've changed. I'm not that man anymore. She smiled faintly, sad but gentle. You say that like it's supposed to make everything okay. He leaned forward, desperate. It's not supposed to make it okay. It's supposed to tell you I'm here now, and I'm not leaving this time. Her breath caught. Don't make promises you can't keep, Ethan. You've done that before. I mean it, he said firmly. I came back because I still believe in us. For a moment, her eyes softened. Then her phone buzzed. The name on the screen glowed bright. Daniel. She froze, her hand hovering over it. Ethan saw it, his chest tightening. You should answer, he said quietly. She didn't move. He'll wonder why I'm quiet. He always knows when something's off. Ethan forced a weak smile. Sounds like he really cares. He does, she whispered. Then he deserves the truth, Ethan said gently. About how you really feel. She looked up, startled. And what truth is that? That you're torn, he said softly. That you're here talking to me when you don't have to be. That somewhere deep down you still care. Her voice trembled. Don't say that. Then tell me it's not true. She looked away, blinking back tears. I can't. The silence was unbearable. Outside, the sky turned gray, rain starting to fall lightly against the window. Claire finally stood, pressing her palms against the counter as if she needed something to hold on to. I can't do this, Ethan. I can't betray someone who's been nothing but good to me. He rose slowly, his voice soft. Then don't. But at least be honest with yourself. Her shoulders tensed. You think honesty makes this easier? No, he said. But it makes it real. She turned around, her face pale but determined. You don't get to walk in after 3 years and decide what's real. You lost that right? He nodded slowly. You're right. But tell me this. If I had come back sooner, would you still be waiting? She hesitated, her throat tightening. Maybe, she whispered. Maybe I would have. The sound of the rain grew louder, filling the space between them. Ethan looked at her, memorizing every detail. Her trembling hands, her conflicted eyes. The ring that didn't seem to fit the story her heart was telling. Claire, he said softly. If you still love me, say it, just once. I won't ask again. Her eyes filled with tears. It doesn't matter if I do. Love isn't always enough. He took a step closer, voice steady. It's the only thing that ever was. Her lips parted, her breath shaking. But before she could speak, the cafe door opened. A tall man stepped in, holding an umbrella, his voice calm and familiar. Claire? You weren't answering your phone. Ethan froze. Claire turned slowly. Daniel smiled politely at Ethan. You must be the old friend she mentioned. Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. Yeah, the old friend. Daniel slipped an arm around Claire's shoulders. She stiffened, caught between two worlds that couldn't exist together. Ethan forced a small nod. I should go. Claire's eyes widened, but she didn't stop him. She just stood there, torn, silent, shaking slightly as the door closed behind Ethan. Daniel looked at her. You okay? She smiled weakly. Yeah, just tired. But as she looked out the window, watching Ethan disappear down the rainy street, a tear slipped down her cheek. Daniel reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. But her eyes stayed on the door long after Ethan was gone. What happens when your heart belongs to two different versions of the same dream? Claire didn't know what hurt more, seeing Ethan again, or realizing that part of her had never stopped waiting for him. After he left the cafe that day, she couldn't focus on anything. She kept hearing his voice, kept seeing his eyes, kept replaying the moment Daniel walked in and changed the air in the room. Everything suddenly felt too small, the cafe, the town, her choices. That night she sat by the window staring at the rain. Daniel was sitting on the couch behind her, flipping through the news, unaware of the storm inside her. He was everything steady, calm, predictable, the kind of love that didn't hurt, didn't question, didn't burn. But sometimes she wondered if safety could ever replace connection. He looked up from the TV. You've been quiet all evening. Everything okay? She forced a smile. Just tired. He nodded, trusting her completely. And that trust only made the guilt worse. When Daniel went to bed, Claire sat in the dark, watching raindrops race down the glass. For the first time in years, she whispered Ethan's name under her breath, just to see how it felt. It didn't feel wrong. It felt like remembering who she used to be. Can you ever forget someone who once felt like home? The next morning, she tried to distract herself with work. But fate had other plans. Ethan walked in again, unannounced, uncertain, and yet determined. I wasn't sure if I should come, he said softly. She exhaled. Then why did you? He hesitated. Because walking away yesterday felt like leaving unfinished words behind. She frowned. There's nothing left to say, Ethan. Then why do you look like you haven't slept either? He asked gently. That single question broke her composure. She turned away, pretending to fix some mugs. You shouldn't be here. Maybe not, he said, but neither of us seems ready to let go. She froze for a second, his words hitting too close. You left once. Don't do this again. I'm not here to leave, he said. I'm here to understand. She turned, frustration in her voice. Understand what? Why you said yes to someone else when your heart still looks for me. Her breath caught. Don't assume things, Ethan. He stepped closer, his tone calm but piercing. Then tell me I'm wrong. She tried, but the words wouldn't come. She just stood there, trapped between pride and truth. Finally, she whispered. He's good to me. That should be enough. Ethan shook his head. Good isn't the same as right, Claire. She closed her eyes, fighting tears. Why now? Why come back after all this time? He hesitated. Because I finally stopped running from what I felt. Because I realized leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. Her lips trembled. You don't get to say that now. I know, he said quietly. But it's still true. For a moment they stood in silence, the air thick with unspoken pain. Then she spoke again, voice trembling. You don't understand, Ethan. Daniel saved me. After you left, I broke. He found me when I didn't believe in anything anymore. He rebuilt me. Ethan nodded slowly. And I'm not here to destroy that. I just needed to know if there's still a part of you that remembers us. Her eyes filled with tears. Of course I remember. But memories don't build a future, he smiled sadly. Maybe not, but they remind you who you were before you stopped feeling. Claire's heart twisted. You think I don't feel? I think you stopped letting yourself feel, he said softly. Because it's easier than hurting again. She looked away, blinking fast. Stop. Please, just stop. He lowered his voice. I'll stop when you tell me you don't love me anymore. She froze. The words hung heavy between them. It's not that simple. It never is, he whispered. The cafe door opened just then. A couple of regulars entered, laughing, breaking the moment. Claire wiped her eyes quickly and greeted them with a forced smile. Ethan stepped back, giving her space. But before he left, he said quietly, "I'll wait outside." She didn't stop him. Not this time. Can silence speak louder than goodbye? After her shift ended, she found him sitting on the bench near the fountain, staring at the water. The sky was gray again, like it had been the first day he returned. She walked over, unsure of what to say. He looked up, managing a faint smile. "Didn't think you'd come." "I almost didn't," she admitted. "Then why did you?" She sighed. "Because every time I tell myself I'm done, something pulls me back." He nodded. "That's how I felt for 3 years." For a long moment, they just sat there, the sound of water filling the silence. Then he said, "You can love him and still miss me. But one day, you'll have to choose which pain you can live with, losing him or never finding yourself again." She turned sharply. "You make it sound like love is a puzzle." "It is," he said, "except the pieces keep changing." She stared at him, really stared, and saw the same boy she once loved, only now grown, steadier, honest. And that made it even harder. She whispered, "You're not making this easy." "I'm not supposed to," he replied. "Love was never meant to be easy." Her voice cracked. "I can't hurt Daniel like that." "You're already hurting yourself," Ethan said. Tears spilled over her cheeks, silent and uncontrollable. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing," he said softly. "Just the truth." She looked at him through blurred eyes. "The truth is, I still love you, but I don't trust you not to leave again." He swallowed hard. "Then let me prove it." "How?" she asked bitterly. "By staying in a town that never wanted you? By waiting for me to break another heart?" He smiled faintly. "If that's what it takes." She looked away, whispering, "You're impossible." "And you're unforgettable," he said. The silence between them turned into something unbearable, raw, exposed, real. She stood suddenly, needing distance. "I should go. Daniel's waiting." Ethan stood too, his voice barely above a whisper. "And if I asked you to stay?" Her throat tightened. "Don't. Would you?" She hesitated, eyes filling again. "Don't make me answer that." He stepped closer, their faces just inches apart. "Then I'll take your silence as an answer." She turned away, her voice trembling. "You shouldn't." "But I will," he whispered. As she walked away, her heart raced painfully fast. Every step felt like a choice she didn't want to make. She didn't look back, but she didn't move fast either. When she reached her car, her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel flashed on the screen. "Dinner tonight at my parents'. Can't wait to tell them the date we picked." Her hands shook. The ring on her finger suddenly felt heavier than ever. The morning after the message, Claire sat staring at her phone for what felt like hours. "Dinner tonight at my parents'. Can't wait to tell them the date we picked." The words echoed in her head, but instead of excitement, she felt a strange hollowness. She should have been happy. She should have been smiling. But all she could think about was the way Ethan had looked at her yesterday, not with hope, but with recognition. Like he'd finally seen the part of her she'd tried so hard to bury. She rubbed her temple, feeling torn between two versions of herself. The one Daniel loved, calm and predictable, and the one Ethan remembered, impulsive and alive. For years, she had been trying to forget that girl. Now she wasn't sure she wanted to. Outside, Maplebrook was waking up. The sky was soft with morning mist, and the cafe across the street was already busy. Claire knew she couldn't avoid Ethan forever. He'd always had a way of showing up, not when she wanted, but when she needed. She sighed, grabbed her coat, and stepped out. How do you walk away from someone who already lives inside you? Ethan was sitting on the park bench near the fountain again, as if the spot had been waiting for him. He didn't look surprised when she walked up, just quietly relieved. You came, he said softly. She nodded. You knew I would. He smiled faintly. You never could leave things half-finished. She sat beside him, her fingers clasped tightly together. I shouldn't be here. I know, he replied. But you are. For a moment, neither spoke. The sound of the fountain filled the silence between them. Finally, she whispered, Daniel wants to set a date. His family's waiting. Ethan looked down, hiding the pain in his expression. That's good. You deserve someone sure about you. She turned to him sharply. Then why do I feel like I'm making a mistake? He met her eyes, steady, but sad. Because love isn't always about what's safe. Sometimes it's about what still makes your heart race, even when it shouldn't. Her breath trembled. You talk like everything's so simple. It's not, he said. But pretending it's complicated doesn't make it easier either. She looked away. Daniel's a good man. He's kind. He's patient. He doesn't make me question myself. And yet you're here, Ethan said softly. She pressed her lips together. You don't understand. Stability matters. Security matters. He nodded slowly. And what about love? Claire closed her eyes, her voice barely a whisper. Love doesn't feed you. It doesn't fix things when they fall apart. No, Ethan said. But it's the only thing that makes all of that worth it. She turned to him, her eyes glistening. You left me once. What makes you think I'd risk everything again for someone who already broke me? He looked at her, his voice firm but gentle. Because I came back. That answer shook her more than she expected. She whispered, And what if I can't trust that you'll stay? Then let me earn it, he said, not with promises, with presence. For a moment, time stood still. The wind carried the faint scent of rain. She could feel her heart pounding, torn between logic and longing. She whispered, Ethan, stop saying the things I want to hear. He smiled faintly. I'm not saying them for you. I'm saying them because they're true. She laughed softly, a broken sound. You always did know how to mess with my head. He leaned closer, his tone calm but serious. Maybe it's not your head that's confused. Maybe it's your heart that finally wants to speak. She blinked, unsure whether to cry or smile. You think love can survive after everything? He looked at her gently. If it's real, it never stopped. Her chest tightened. She wanted to deny it, but she couldn't. Every time she looked at him, she saw the same spark that once made her believe in forever. But then, as if reality itself wanted to remind her, her phone buzzed again. Daniel's name lit up the screen. She silenced it instantly. Ethan noticed, but said nothing. After a long pause, Claire whispered, He doesn't deserve this. No, Ethan said. He doesn't. But neither do you deserve to live a life built on pretending. His words hit harder than he intended. She looked down, fighting back tears. You make everything sound like it's so black and white. He shook his head. It's not, it's just, sometimes we already know the answer. We just wait too long to admit it. She stood abruptly, needing distance. I can't do this. Not like this. Ethan rose too, his voice gentle. Then tell me how. Tell me what you want me to do. She turned to him, her face pale, eyes glassy. I want you to leave. He froze. If that's what you really want. Her voice trembled. It's not, but it's what I need. He nodded slowly, swallowing hard. Then I will. But before I go, I need you to know, I came back not to change your life, but to remind you of who you were before you forgot how to feel. Tears spilled down her cheeks. And now you're leaving again. He smiled sadly. This time, I'm leaving because you asked me to. She watched him turn away, her throat tightening. Ethan, she called softly. He paused, turning halfway. She whispered through tears. If things were different. He finished her sentence gently. They're not. But they could have been. He gave her one last look, the kind that says everything words can't, and walked away into the fading light. She stood there for a long time, unable to move. The air felt heavier, the silence louder. The sound of his footsteps slowly disappeared, but his presence lingered like an echo in her heart. When she finally went back to the cafe, she sat at the same table where it all began. The same spot, the same chair, the same window view. Except now, everything looked different. She looked at her reflection in the glass and whispered, I told him to leave, but I never told him to stop loving me. What if endings aren't endings, just quiet pauses before the truth finds its way back? The cafe lights dimmed. She took off her ring, placing it gently on the table beside her coffee cup. It wasn't rebellion. It was clarity. For the first time in years, she didn't feel confused. She just felt real. The door opened softly behind her. She didn't turn. She didn't need to. A familiar voice broke the silence. Claire? Her heart skipped. She turned slowly. Ethan stood there again, rain in his hair, eyes filled with something between hope and fear. I was halfway to the station, he said quietly. And then I thought, maybe you didn't mean it. Her eyes filled again. Maybe I didn't.